We
What's
are
going
live.
on?
We are live on the internet. Welcome. Very good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be tuning in from. Thank you for joining. This is the Pragmatic AI and .NET show. I'm Sam. I'm your host, developer advocate over at Uno Platform. And with me today, I have my very good friend, Spencer. How are you doing, sir?
I'm great. How are you?
I am hanging in there, trying to ride all the cool and hype waves while trying to stay grounded, right? Isn't that all of us now?
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for making time to join, Spencer. Let me see. We are live on YouTube, X, and LinkedIn, and all the places.
Those are good platforms. I've heard of
Yeah,
those.
yeah. So, folks who are watching this live, I love to ask where you are, tuning in from. So please drop in comments if you do. And then if you have any questions and concerns or thoughts as we go along, this is an informal show, so just type away in the comments. I'll highlight them and ask, put Spencer in the spot and ask away questions. All right, let's get rolling. So Spencer, why don't you introduce yourself quickly?
So I'm the president and CTO of Aviron Labs. We used to be Aviron Software, still making that brand transition. We write software for businesses, so we're just a pretty typical software consulting company. We have classically done like .NET, Node, React Native, because I don't love the .NET front end story. Sorry, Uno. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be that guy, but I just love React. It just is. That's just my favorite. But obviously we've kind of waded into AI consulting after having an opportunity a couple of years ago. A client of mine came to me and said, "Hey, Spencer, you're going to be our generative AI lead at this particular organization." I was like, "Oh, that's cool." I'm just a .NET I'm just a simple .NET developer, but turned around and made the most of it and opened up a nice AI consulting practice as well. And so when you invited me on the show, I was very excited because I love talking about AI, and this is the Pragmatic AI show. Did you name the
Mhm.
show, Sam?
I did. Well, one of my coworkers helped because
I love it.
there's a lot of hype. There's a lot of things going around. So we just wanted to talk to people who actually build and ship real stuff with AI. Because a lot of us, yes, you can spin agents and agents and do all types of fun stuff, but are you actually shipping maintainable software? So that's kind of
That's a good
yeah.
idea. And the person who helped name it, is his name Claude? Is Claude working it?
No, he is 100% human. Actually, we try to keep the human in the loop as one should. Yeah. I've known you for a while, so I hear you what you're saying with .NET. I mean, you and me have aged a little bit in this industry, so we have seen things mature. .NET is a very powerful stack, but I hear you. The Microsoft story, especially on the front end, has evolved quite a bit.
Yes,
Yeah,
100%.
yeah, maybe if we have time, like this is your show, but maybe I can convince you with some of the newest and coolest things we have done with Uno. Again, just trying to bring .NET cross-platform, keep it grounded, make
Yep.
developers productive. So tell me a little bit more about what type of projects you guys do. How is AI changing any of that?
I mean, I think it's safe to say that AI is transforming the industry. You probably heard that a lot. I have a lot of consulting friends, lots and lots of friends with my competitors, because you got to keep your friends close, but your enemies closer, right? Okay. We've kind of talked about how we've kind of gotten together and talked about how AI has transformed our industry, um, the perspective of software delivery. I was talking to a guy a couple of months ago at a conference. He has a consultancy out in the Czech Republic, and he said, the thing that just used to take 3 months takes a couple of dozen hours and some like codex prompts. So I wanted to kind of dig into that and kind of show and kind of show how we deliver software here, or at least one of the ways that we deliver software, especially greenfield software. We're going to get a little fun though, because I'm going to show you something that, hey, listen, you're a .NET guy. Uno's a .NET company. How would you feel about seeing a whole new .NET language? That'd be kind of
Oh,
cool, right? Okay. Well, I'm going to show that to you. I'm going to show you how, and I'm going to show that to you because I built it all with AI, as you can imagine. So I imagine the code is not that great. So all you language designers, okay, Mads Torkson or Anders Alsberg, if you're out watching, I'm sure you're right out now designing the next great features of .NET or TypeScript or whatever. I'm just telling you, okay, the code ain't perfect, but it works. It's pretty
Yeah.
cool. So I'm excited to talk about that, but specifically how I built it with AI.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
It is a very changed landscape, right? I mean, you're talking about building a new language, but to your point, like how much faster we can move, it's dramatic. But at the same time, like context matters. Like you cannot just run as fast as you want, because you have to maintain and review. And maybe AI is generating code faster than we can even review. So one question I did want to ask, like before we actually dive in, is it's one thing to have a individual contributor, like as an indie dev, you are just churning out code, but you are actually shipping stuff with the team. Does the team actually all use same AI tools? Like, what's your setup like? What's your preference like? And how do you get everybody to come along?
So everybody's come along because that is a mandate at the company. I mean, when I started, so a friend of mine, Andy Walters, who owns an AI consultancy now, Agent Press, he was the one. We went to a conference together, and he said, I would say it was June or July, and he said, Spencer, you using Claude Code yet? I said no. He said you need to be using Claude Code. So I took the guy whose consultancy had a meteoric AI rise, and I took his word for it. So I started using Claude Code, and I started using the heck out of Claude Code. Me personally, so I mandated to my company, 95% of your code will be written by AI by the end of the first quarter this year, no exceptions. And I was serious because we are in an industry that is delivering faster and better with AI. And I do think AI is a massive force multiplier for good human developers, aka developers that can interact with other humans, not the hoodie type, not the basement with their hoodies over there. Okay, we don't want that. We don't need those people who are kind of like, man, that line of code looks terrible. No, nobody wants that. This actually is a hoodie. I keep, in case my office gets cold, it's actually an Aviron hoodie. It's kind of cute.
Oh, that's nice.
So we're kind of set up for it. We've only hired, like, all the people that I hire are consultant, product-minded, technical people. So I said, you just need to use AI. And I don't really care the tools, but Claude is my favorite. And my favorite has shifted. My current favorite is Fable. If the U.S. government would go ahead and just let us use it, okay? I would really like to use Fable again, Trump. So, or whoever's listening, Howard Lutnick, or whoever, all those people, just give me Fable back. It was really awesome, at least for building my language. But right now, like, if short of that, Codex is my tool of choice. But Sam, I pay $200 a month for 2 plans. I pay for Claude Code and I pay for Codex because I believe that both are valuable. The sum of the parts together are greater than the individual, than them individually, because they all have different ways they're trained. They have different models. And then I tell my company, like, if you want Claude, we use Claude as a base. And then if you want Codex, just tell me. The licenses are like, what, $20 a month? Like, it's nothing. It's nothing. So just use, and if you need an upgrade, here's an upgrade. Like, we need to deliver software better and faster, and AI is the way to do it. So the answer to your question, yes, I make my team use AI. Yes, it's non-optional. Yes, I even sometimes glance at the tokens that they have, but really in reality, I just make sure that they're closing tickets and not like shipping bugs. That's the most important thing, right?
Yeah.
And then I use anything and everything from local models to, I paid for Grok, but the Grok CLI tool, but I don't know that I'm actually going to use it just because I'm out here delivering software. I can't use all the tools. How am I going to keep up?
Well said. Yeah, it's you're delivering software. You have to have value in what you're delivering, and you need tools to help you do what you're doing. So if you're ready, let's jump in and show me your setup. Show me how you built a new language. That sounds amazing. So shall I bring up your desktop?
Yeah, do it.
All right, you're up.
Okay. All right. This is a nice little pretty little thing. We got a little mouse cursor. Okay. So I'm going to show you I am going to talk about Ralph. Ralph is the thing that was popularized, I want to say, like right around when NetClaw, not NetClaw, that's Aaron Standard's thing. When what was it before Hermes? OpenClaw. There's been so many of them. right before OpenClaw kind of dominated the Twitterverse for a while. Yes, I still call it Twitter. We had Ralph that was really popular for a couple weeks by a guy named Jeff Huntley. Actually,
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever met Sam, but he was a former Microsoft MVP.
And I don't know if you know, he's actually a former colleague of ours. He's actually helped out quite a bit. So good friend of ours at Luna Platform. We love Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff was great. And it was funny because I went to, a couple of months ago, I went to React Miami, and I just happened to go to a thing, and I was like, I saw a straw hat, and I was like, oh my God, that's Jeff Huntley. I hadn't seen him since Summit like 8 years ago. So I went up and talked to him for a while. But anyways, Ralph is the way and the light. So I want to talk about the language that I built. And I want to talk about how I use Ralph to do it. And I want to also talk about the language is cool, and I'm still building on that language. But this is a pragmatic AI show, okay, Sam? I'm not going to go out and win hearts by showing people the language. I just wanted to show, I want to show the capability of these AI agents. And then I want to talk about some of the real projects that I built. So my company has made money with Ralph. In other words, I have turned on Ralph, had it run overnight, and made money from that project. So we'll talk about that as well.
Awesome. So before you dive in, for folks who might not know, so Claude and Claude Code, those are the AI agentic superpowers. But then Ralph are you talking about Ralph Wiggum, like the loop, essentially?
Yep, that's right. Exactly. Basically running, Ralph is cooking and we are not in the kitchen with him. I'm running AI agents overnight in order to deliver software.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's the way and the light. Most of it is not done with Ralph loops these days, but I want to kind of talk through the journey and how Ralph has changed. But okay, so I'm going to give a little spicy opinion, okay? The inspiration behind my programming language, which is called N#, by the way. N stands for New Lang because I am so not original. I'll drop a link into the comments, okay? Let's see. Is it going to drop in? Oh, this comment has failed to post to Uno platform. Whatever. nsharplang.com.
I can post. I can post.
You can. Sam, what a guy. Appreciate you, man. So
by the way, this is Aviron Labs that Spencer was talking about. And hold on, I missed seeing the URL. Bring that up one more time, please.
All right, bring it up one more time. I will make it here. Let's open this.
Or you can drop it in private chat, and I can just repost.
Yeah, but it's cooler if I just post it into here.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, look at that. nsharplang.com. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about this language. This is my favorite. Like you've ever had one of those side projects that you've never delivered, you never actually did anything with. Okay. I do that, but I actually deliver it with AI tooling because AI can do all the work for me. So I have a spicy opinion though, Sam. I love .NET. I love C#, but .NET's a little antiquated. Okay. And specifically C# is a little antiquated. It is not a language that I love to use. It's a language that I love to write software in. But what I wanted to do is I fell in love with a little language called Go and their ecosystem. And I really wanted to try to bring that to .NET. So what I ended up doing was actually sending an AI agent to build this for me overnight. So here's how I did it. Okay. I got out. It was, oh, I haven't introduced you to my friend. You want to meet my friend, Sam? Yeah.
Sure.
My friend, want to meet Claude? This is Claude.
Oh.
This is my laptop. And right now it's ironically running Codex, okay? But this is my coding laptop. So one of the things that you'll hear me talk about a lot is AI safety, okay? I don't run anything on my work computer that gives a coding agent full access to my computer unattended. So I was so serious about this. I started by making a virtual machine on my work computer because I got 128 gigabytes of RAM. Okay, I got plenty to go around, but the ergonomics of that weren't great. The battery life really sucked. I couldn't do anything with it. So I bought this $1,000 and I've got my Ralph machine. And this has made me six figures. This machine has made me six figures at my company running AI agents overnight. So I'll talk a little bit about that, but that's my friend Claude.
Yeah. So you're kind of isolating it. So, anytime you hear these stories like, my AI agent deleted or dropped a production database, that's not on you or the AI agent, that's on you because it's not, isolated enough. So you are running things completely in a kind of what's the word, like a container essentially.
It's like a really expensive fancy container. That's pretty
Right,
much
right.
what it is.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Okay.
so this was the story, Sam. Okay. I was a little burned out in November. I was going on a vacation with my wife. I told my customers, I am deleting Slack. I'm deleting Teams. I am turning my phone off. I am not talking to any of you. I have a team, use them. And so that's what I did is I turned off my phone. I needed it. Little mental health break. Okay. Everybody needs it once in a while. And I whip out Claude. I brought Claude with me and I brought my work laptop with me because I was going on a work trip right after. I whip out Claude and I start typing. And my wife, who's reading a book in our lovely hotel room in California, looks at me and goes, "You're not working, are you?" And I said, "No, this is for fun." And she said, "Okay." She went back to her book. And I started building the language. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to start by talking about how I did it. So first thing I did, you've probably heard of plan mode, friends. Okay. You've probably heard of make this big. Plan mode is cool, but you know what's even cooler? Making your own plan mode. And I don't really actually make my own plan mode. I'm not doing that. You know what? One of these days I'm going to say, I'm just going to, that should be good enough. Okay. So I'm going to go CD repos, make dir, uno demo, CD uno demo. And I went Claude. I open up Claude. It said, "Welcome back, Spencer." Well, thank you, Claude. Now I'd be doing this and I'd be starting this probably in Opus and then writing it in Fable if the US government would let me. Okay.
It's funny how you had it for 2 days and you're missing it so much.
Dude, I mean, I wasn't doing it for work stuff. I was literally building the language. Okay, seriously, Sam, it found a bug in the .NET runtime and it filed an issue under my name, which I was pissed about. This is AI safety, guys. You play with fire, you get burned. I gave him my GitHub credentials and that was a mistake. So my mea culpa, I took that away. I took that away from Claude. Said, naughty Claude, you don't do that. Not Claude isn't allowed to do that anymore. But I dug into it because it jumped the gun. And I was like, oh, but it actually is. No, Fable is really cool. I could see for building a language, it is a really powerful model. But we're going to use Opus because that's what we got. Okay. So I went in and I said, "Hey, Claude, I want to write a new programming language with .NET as the backend. It's going to be Go like with a better type system. Please interview me and help me come up with a spec." So this is how it started. I basically said, ask me a bunch of questions because it's going to keep track of everything. It's going to be writing it out a spec document. And what I ended up doing was then taking this spec document and asked me a bunch of questions about types. It found some things. It's like, well, actually, Spencer, a decision you made earlier doesn't make sense in the context of this. What do you want to do? And I'm like, cool, that's actually a good point. So let's go and talk through it. So this is like plan mode, but what I find is that plan mode is usually only like tries to ask you a few questions and it's fine for that. But what I wanted was a serious like interview. I wanted it to interview me. There's a great skill called Grill Me. I know Scott Sauber, if he's watching right now, he's constantly talking about Grill Me. Grill Me is a skill that a lot of people like to use that basically says, interview me and find the best way to build this thing and ask me questions, like ask me as detailed questions and really tear the concept apart. So there's opinionated tools out there for building these things. So this is how it started. I asked it for come up with a spec, and then I had it start building. And I'm going to show you the prompt that I used.
Do you use anything formal like OpenSpec or SpecKit?
No, I don't. I haven't, and I haven't because I haven't had the need to. But I feel like the more people talk about it, the more I feel like I'm missing out. So I got that AI FOMO a little bit. That's how AI runs the world. It just makes you feel like you're missing out on stuff.
No, I mean, if you are in this mode of getting grilled on a topic to really flush it out, you're doing pretty much exactly what these inspecting tools will do. So you're not that far off.
100%. And so that's what I do. And I'm going to show you the techniques that like the things that I use, but I think that it's important to kind of go back in history a little bit. Oh boy, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find this. Do I have the initial commit all time? Let's go. I'm going to show you what I'm looking at because I want to show you the prompt that I used to then turn around and use that spec. Cause this is all open source. Okay. I believe I went in November. Did I go in November? So let's go November 1st to December 1st. It'll probably show me something. I know that there's probably somebody's watching this and they're just like, wow, there's a way easier way to do this. But I'm doing it my way, okay? Because I don't know what I'm doing. Let's see. I want to see the let's see, browse files. Nope, I hit the back button. Browse files. Yes, there it is right there. Prompt.md. It all started with this. So I want to talk a little bit about this prompt, but first I want to show the thing that makes this work. Okay. So this is let me switch back to this. So this is it. This is the secret to doing it. And nowadays you can just use goal. And I know that goal is something I use all the time in Codex. I will talk about goal because goal is really powerful. It's really good. Claude's kind of sucks, but Codex's goal is really good. It for days. It will actually run for days.
Goal, like GOAL?
Yeah, /goal. We'll talk about it. I promise, Sam. Yeah, /goal is like probably my favorite agentic harness feature today. But again, we'll talk. Actually, Claude's dynamic workflows is actually really powerful as well. So we'll talk about that. But this was back then, we didn't have any of these fancy schmancy harness tools for running AI agents, in a loop. So what we had was we had a while loop inside of a bash terminal. And all this did was invoke Claude code and then add prompt.md to Claude code. Here's what this go ahead.
So question on that front. So this takes a little bit of setup and work up front before you can let Claude fly overnight. So what are your guardrails? Like, what are your exit conditions so that Claude keeps going over and over again?
There is no exit condition. There is no exit condition. And I'll talk about why that's important, but it just builds. And here's the prompt that kind of does it all. Okay, so let's go to, that's good. Okay. This was the prompt as it started. It actually got more complex. So I would totally recommend viewing if you go to the nsharplang repo and go to look at the commit history, and you can see the prompt.md. But basically all I did was I came up with it. I had Claude help me come up with a list of tasks. And then I said, read the tasks directory and implement the language, its tooling, and its examples from those tasks. Read the task files in order and start doing the task one at a time. Do not change the task numbers. Completed tasks should move to the completed tasks directory. That's it. It's as simple as that. This prompt got a little more complicated as time went on. So let's look at the history. Momo, complete this. Complete task type. I believe it did anyways. Or maybe it did. Let me take a look. What did it do? Oh, maybe it didn't. I have another prompt that I use, but I can't I can't show that one because it was actually an internal customer paid product. So I can't show specifically that one. But it was a lot of basically, here are the rules of engagement. Here's how you make this thing good. Actually, you know what? Sam, stop sharing for a second. I want to open my email. I actually think that I have, I actually sent this prompt.
All the while, I'm thinking like it was just a couple of weeks back we were hanging out with Mads Torgerson and the team. Like they're the ones behind the C# specs, so you should go talk to them.
I actually make it a point to talk to Mads every single week, every single time. Sorry, not every single week. Every single time I'm at Summit, I talk to Mads and I talk about C#. We need a new C#. Can you make C# already? But
it's. I mean, I hear what you're saying. It's a mature language, but then he also has to care about not breaking stuff. So it's a balancing act for them.
Yes, 100%. I know it is, but like I still doesn't mean I'm not going to advocate for it. COTM. See. Okay, cool. All right, I've got the more complex prompt, but let me talk a little bit about you can reshare my screen. I'm good now. Okay, so. It came back to Ralph, right? So I basically just took this prompt and what I did was I had it create tasks and then I would check on it every once in a while. Okay. That's the important thing about using AI agents overnight. You mentioned human in the loop, right? You mentioned human in the loop at the beginning of this call, being the human in the loop. Jeff Huntley is correct. Ralph doesn't want a human in the loop. It's a human on the loop. You just check in on them every once in a while and course correct where you need. But like it's building. I've had it build for Greenfield software. I've had it build stuff. For this language, I've had it build stuff. And I find that I really don't need to check on it all that often. I need to make sure that it's directionally correct. And this is a really important thing. Building software with Ralph requires a great deal of faith and to believe in eventual consistency. This is the most important part. You have to believe that it's going to work. And it's like, it feels like magic because it feels like fairy tales because we're telling it. It was like, you have to believe. Hope is a strategy in this case, but you have to believe that eventually the AI model will get it. And will it get it wrong? It absolutely will. When I delivered the project that I'm going to talk about, when I delivered that project, there was plenty of things where I was just like, hey, I got to course correct you. But it ended up being a really high margin product because I was able to mostly generate it with AI agents and then hand it off to an employee to finish and polish and then be done with it. And I want to say my margins are probably around conservatively about 50% of a fixed price bid. So that's pretty impressive. That's pretty good. It's about what you want. I don't know because I don't usually sell fixed price, but I'm having to get to that point because of AI agents. So the important thing is the why this loop works. The state is not complex. It's not stored in a database. It's not using a Kanban board. It's using two directories, a tasks directory and its completed tasks directory. And then every time it finishes work, and Claude is really lazy and loves to finish work. That's why /goal in Claude doesn't really work that well. Ultra Code kind of does. It actually does work pretty well. That's their dynamic workflows. We'll talk about that. But this works because it gets a clear context window every time it runs. Okay, so we're not polluting the context window with a bunch of stuff that we don't need. It's ending itself, and then it goes back and invokes itself again, and it gets a fresh context window. And all it has is the its tools, the prompt.md, and then a bunch of tasks that it needs to do. Okay. So this is the most important thing, though, is a concept called back pressure. Like, there's two primary ways to make LLMs be consistent. It's good prompting and good context. Actually, prompting is one thing. I'd say context engineering is probably the most thing. Like, what are you putting in its context in order to make it valuable? But this is the ability to check its own work, making it bigger for you, bold, underline. This is the most important thing that you can do, is provide back pressure.
Can you define that?
Yes, absolutely. Give the LLM the ability to check its own work. Okay. So the most basic form of back pressure would be .NET Build, right? Or npm run dev, or npm lint.
So validate its own work.
100%. So
don't just generate.
Yeah. So a part of its prompt is write tests for things, and yes, it tends to write some tests that are junky. Kind of don't care, because it's going to write tests that are valuable alongside those. I can always delete the ones that are later and then tune the behavior in the system prompt. So I believe that if I recall, I believe I had a claude.md file that also defined the rules for this, but I don't know that I have it ready, but I'll show you. I had claude.md, I think, in this repo, and I have an agents.md, but it basically defines that. I could show it to you, actually. Basically defines all the guardrails that I expect from you. And it's going to be, this is like big statement, literally markdown file.
Hold on, Spencer, you can still hear me, right?
Yeah, I can still hear you. Did the AI agent take your voice?
I'm not sure if my AirPods died. Let me switch up. Hold on.
Yeah. Do.
Okay.
Do you really have multiple sets of AirPods just like on reach?
I cannot hear you, which is weird. Let me check.
Is it me? Is it me? I just switched to a shittier microphone.
Microphone's still on, but none of my AirPods are connecting. That is weird. 1 second. Sorry about that.
I'm hoping it's not me. No, it says I'm.
It is connected. Where are my AirPods?
Testing. Yeah.
All right. It's just our streaming platform isn't. Okay. Now, can you say something?
Something?
No. Is it your mic by any chance?
My mic is good. My mic is good.
Hold on. Sorry about that. I'm going to check. Just play something random on my side, see if I can hear it. No, it is not you. It is me. Okay. Switching over. Hold
Somebody
on.
say, somebody in chat say something.
I'm going to go to a big headphone here. Let's see if that works. Yeah, you're back. Yes.
I'm back. No, you're back. I was
I'm
never
back.
gone. Come on,
I'm-
Sam. Credit where
I'm
credit's due,
sorry.
okay?
Yep. I hear you now, loud and clear. Okay, go ahead, my friend.
All right. So back pressure is what we were talking about. Rules. Always keep the project code really clean. Run all unit tests. Rebuild the compiler and SDK up to the point of, because this is a language that I'm building with like as much gold plating as I possibly can. It used to be a bad thing back in our day. Like 10 years ago, that was a bad thing when you gold plated software, right? When you just made it better and better incrementally, but it wasn't actually adding the making it better wasn't adding any business value. Well, with AI, you can kind of gold plate to your heart's content because it ain't you that's doing the code. So I had it, and besides, the language ain't much of a language unless it has ecosystem features. So I had it like useful ecosystem features. So not only did I have it run .NET Test to run all of its compiler stuff, I actually have it run through and go through Visual Studio Code and actually make sure that all my squiggly lines and my find all references and my code lens, yes, I have all those features in my language. I made sure all of those work as well. No, I don't have it for Writer yet, JetBrains. I had to draw a line somewhere. Visual Studio Code is good enough. Besides, it's a language. It's kind of unintentionally, but it just was the way it was designed to be built by LLM. So this is where, so the prompts.md file actually contained like the base prompt, but its behavior was still governed by the Claude.md file. So this is the way that I would basically just build. This is the main agents file that I use to build my language. And I think that's really cool. But the more important thing is to provide back pressure. And back pressure can come through .NET Run, .NET Compile, .NET Test. It can go through literally like, hey, invoke this skill. This skill is going to run through your application and click through and actually make it work. So told you, I got Claude right here. Claude's my friend, and you see he's open right now. He's actually running. He's actually building my language as we speak. And what I would tell Claude to do is literally, because it's a sandbox computer, it doesn't have my email on it. It apparently had access to my GitHub. That was a mistake. Don't do that. And guys, whoever's listening, please don't do that. I have been burned a couple of times by just taking those little risks. Don't take risks. I have a Mac Mini over here. Get a Mac Mini, get a virtual machine, whatever you want, but don't run it on your work computer, whatever you do. And I have it right now, will run and it will go. And I'll say, like, if I'm building a new piece of software for a client, I will literally say, I want you to use Docker for the database. I want you to build the thing like this. I don't want you to use AutoMapper. I want you to use Fluent Validation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then I say, when you actually get to the point of running the application and building the front end, I want you to use this skill or use this part of the workflow to actually go in and use computer use. That is where your LLM is taking control of your computer. Use computer use to actually use the application and click around and make sure that things work. And it's all fully containerized and all fully integrated inside of this laptop. And it has access to anything, right? It can do anything that it can do with Bash, it can do. So Bash, it can install Docker if it wanted to. It could do literally anything. So that's what I have it do. But back pressure is the way and the light. That is the way that you make Ralph loops work.
Yeah, well said. So now let me ask you, like, how often do you do this? The back pressure, is it like after every pass? Is like, when does Ralph know to stop or know that it's done what you were asking it to do?
It pretty well, like that behavior is defined in the agents.md or the Claude.md. It's pretty good at following those instructions. In fact, I would say that it's one of the more consistent things that it does is it will basically, every time it adds a language feature, it'll run the tests. That actually caused problems though, because the tests would take a long time to run. So I actually had to have Claude and Codex help me improve my test suite in order for it to test only slices so that it could move faster. So,
Right.
but like, it just basically says like every time you make a feature, run the test suite. The problem was the test suite would take 5 to 10 minutes to run. And then I was like, okay, well, now I've got to invent a better way, because the ideal is that the back pressure is strong, but time boxed. That's ideal, but it's better that it just all runs. Besides, it's mostly just doing it unattended anyway. So what do I care if it takes forever? And it's not like it's business critical. It's not like my business is writing on this language. It's not like I'm using this language in production. Maybe I will one day, but not today. So I don't mind that the back pressure takes too long, but Jeff Huntley specifically says that like your feedback loop should be really fast. I somewhat agree with that. It's ideal if it's fast, but it doesn't have to be super fast. If it's taking longer than 5 minutes, it's way too long. I think longer than a minute, you probably should start looking at it. But typically what I do is then I just say, hey, you only touch this part. Maybe you just run the compiler test, not the full test suite. We don't need to exercise Visual Studio Code because you're only touching the compiler in this case. So it'll do that, and it'll typically respect those rules pretty well.
Yeah. So it's taken you how many months to create this language? And is that something you're actually using?
Is it something I'm using? Depends on what you mean. Is it something that I'm going to use in production? Probably not with my clients. It might be something that I build my own personal software with. But using it with my clients would pretty much, I think that would be irresponsible. That would be super irresponsible. And, listen, Sam, we all know the engineer that wants the thing that they invented to be the thing that they use. We know those people. Okay. I'm not one of those people. I'm just wanting to use this to demonstrate the concept. I've been building it since November, but there's been long breaks in between. Like I would lose interest. Now it's got my interest. Now I've got a $200 a month Codex plan. And by the way, Codex is also very generous. There were usage limits. I've got a $200 a month Codex plan that I want to exercise. I want to use all those tokens. So, because Claude is my main driver, usually with Codex as the code reviewer. By the way, that combination is amazing.
So you are pitching them against each other.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. All the time. Okay. All the time. It doesn't matter if Codex is building it, I make it go through. Actually, Codex has been more consistent than Claude recently. Like Opus 4.8 isn't a great model compared to like what it was at 4.5 back in the day. Like when it was 4.5 and 4.6 were unveiled, they were like amazing. But Claude 4.7, 4.8 have had, let's just say their share of struggles. They're kind of an anxious model, in my opinion. They're always constantly like second guessing themselves or doing hacky things or taking the safe work around. Codex kind of just does, and it does it pretty consistently. But if I have Codex write code, you bet your ass I'm going to have if I have Claude write code, you bet your ass I'm going to have Codex review it, because Codex always finds something wrong with Claude. Always, without fail. So, but I do pit them against each other constantly. In fact, I have a whole repo, Codex code review. Yeah, my Codex review skills. And this has been done 100 times, so this isn't super like game changing, but like I have my own code review skills where I basically tell Claude inside of the claude.md file, make sure that you invoke Codex code review in order to review your skills. The problem is that this is very token intensive, the way I have this skill written. So you need the $200 a month plan for this to work, because it just takes too long otherwise. But it's pretty cool, and it always yields a better product. Always, 100% of the time. Let me think. A good prompt. I mean, really all you need to run Ralph, and you don't even really need this anymore. You need a $200 a month plan and /goal, which we'll talk about. But you need that. You need back pressure. This is less important, I'm finding. /goal is a really good tool. Again, I will talk about it. But these are probably the two most important things. You just need the expensive one. Get the real expensive one. Get the Cadillac, the Pro plan. On the Codex side, especially, their usage limits are crazy right now.
Yeah, and I mean, as a business owner, as a C-level person, it's justifiable because these are tools that's literally helping you do your job. So you don't want to be limited in
100%.
Yeah, there are limits because how much of overall spend you're doing, but this is kind of you're saying these are table stakes for you folks to build software.
100%. And it's surprising. Like I know a lot of so we're a pretty small consultancy, about 10, 12 people. I've actually heard like from my friends who own consulting companies or run consulting companies who have enterprise clients that their enterprise clients are still writing software by hand. They just the inertia in the industry is so real But for me, it is table stakes because I'm a consultant and I know my competitors are doing this. And even if they weren't doing this, I'd still want to be like, okay, yeah, let's deliver software faster and better. AI does that. It's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
let me ask you one question here. So this is your setup, if or because you are building a new language. But if you had a fixed bid client project, would you still do the same thing?
Yes, and I have.
Okay.
Let's talk about that project. You want to hear about it? This is a real project I delivered. All right. So it was built on. So this project was built on Access, and no, I mean, but yeah. So the way I see it, whoever was my predecessor did the hard work. They moved the Access database part, the database part, to Azure SQL, but Access was still being used to generate reports and be their form. So it was still it was still like, but they did the hardest part, which is move all this data to the cloud. I didn't really want to do that. So that was good, but it was an Access database. And this thing was a church organization that managed priest records. It had tons of records on everything: cars, insurance, locations, churches, all of the things. Usually the priests, like, it managed like literally every aspect of their lives was captured inside of this thing. And so they used Microsoft Access front-end reports. Like I said, it was moved to Azure SQL, so no lift and shift required there. That would have probably complicated the project. Not beyond my comfort level, but I would have, it would have just been another thing to do. So we assessed the risks. The Access database itself contained no data. You have to, when you do Ralph, you always have to assess the risks. And this was a really important risk to assess, because if it had Access database, if the Access database did have personal data in it, and we double checked and verified, a human did that. Okay. I didn't give it access to a coding model until I personally verified that the Access database, I do believe I did find some personal data. I cleared it out, killed it, because I didn't need it. It was connected to their local. So I didn't want to give the Access database or the LLM access to anything inside of that database because it contained really sensitive data. And the SQL database did have the data, which is good. And the app itself was simple CRUD. Like, at the end of the day, it was just CRUD over, it was just an access, it was just CRUD over a database, right? Create, read, update, delete. So it was pretty simple, pretty straightforward. So I downloaded their production database. They didn't have a test database. It's a pretty small organization, so they didn't have it. So I scrambled all the personal data, scrambled it all. And then I had somebody in my company check my work. That's how serious I take this. I don't trust, I trust myself enough, but I made sure that somebody at the company walked through the process with me. I asked Claude to Dockerize it into a SQL Server container, because I asked Claude to do everything, by the way. What slide are we on? 25. I don't make it do, I make it do literally anything. Download and transcribe this video. Make me a codec of a macOS virtual machine. Authenticate to this Azure environment with a read-only token and scan for vulnerabilities. And then make HTML documents, okay? Like, I just have it do everything for me. I can't do anything without AI these days, Sam. I'm here to say, okay? So then...
I mean, you're doubling your productivity, so why not? You have the tools.
I don't want to think about this stuff. I just want to do. Exactly. Some engineers are really focused in, man, I'm losing my identity. I love writing lines of code. I've never been that developer. Code is a means to an end. The end is what's exciting to me. Yep. I love delivering software. So I then wrote a prompt to analyze the Access file and turn it into a .NET Core backend with a React front end. Sorry, Uno, I did use React. So I got super lucky in that there is a set of command line tools called MDB tools. It's literally command line tools designed to learn about and understand Access databases. So I was like, what the heck? Because it already has access to Bash. This is amazing. I'll just use this. Like, I'll just say, like, and actually, I had no idea this existed. Claude found it. It's like, oh, you gave me an Access database. Oh, MDB tools are a thing. Let me go ahead and do. It did its little do-to-dos, whatever Claude does, and then it went and did this, and it went in, and then I turned on Ralph, okay, and then I yielded the prompt, and I do believe. Let me just double check. What did I do? I want to make sure that I actually like sanitize this pretty well, but I did. Yep. Okay. This is sanitized. All right. Add to be sure, because I'm crazy about this kind of thing. So you're an absolute stickler for types being correct. The API returns a serpent field. You expect the TypeScript model matches that exactly. Your goal is to connect the ASP.NET Core backend API, which I generated, basically generated from Claude, pretty well unattended, if I recall. It's been a while. I was doing a lot of things at the time, but then to the React front end. and then the Docker container, this Docker container, and I just gave it the username and password to the localized Docker container in an environmental variable or something like that. And then, I had it output me a front end spec. I gave it instructions to say, plan all tasks you want to do ahead of time. Sure, you check to see if a task exists or has already been completed before you move on to another task. Do not modify the database in any way. This was really important because I wanted to lift and shift. I did not want to go ahead and try to mutate the database or make the application better. The bid was to move the application. That's all we wanted to do. And it's not even about like, I don't want to add features that they didn't pay for. It was just about risk assessment and dealing with risk. Let's see. I have my rules, always keep the project code really clean, compile and lint the front end, run the app locally, compile the app, test the app, check your own work, check your assumptions, and always use git commit and git push to origin after you've written any code. Okay. So this is the prompt that I had Ralph run overnight. It's pretty straightforward. There's really not a lot of things to it. Described what you're doing, described all the projects. It described the things that you can do in those projects, described the things, more importantly, you can't do. And then it described how do you get back pressure? How do you make it so that you're testing your application? And back then, computer use wasn't available to me. I would absolutely have added computer use to that prompt as well. So, let's see. And the specific thing is I'm just having it capture tasks in markdown files. Like, it doesn't need to be complicated. Like, I'm delivering software by capturing the state in markdown files. It's all I'm doing. That's it. It's not complicated. It's not crazy. Then I gave it time and let it run. And then, let's see. First thing I would do, Chrome MCP for starters. Computer use is now built into Claude and Codex. Basically, I would adjust the prompt to not only do .NET Build, but also navigate the application. I'd create better yet, I would create a bash workflow where a task would be done. That task data would be added to a commit. Then I'd invoke another LLM to navigate the app and check its work. You could probably execute this pretty well with Claude dynamic workflows, where it will literally, you give it a goal and it will generate the workflows. It will actually generate a file, a Python file or a TypeScript. I don't exactly know I think it's TypeScript, where it will actually go through and run the workflow for you. It's pretty amazing. Let's see, trying to think what else there is. But that was pretty well how I did it. But I think it's important to talk about the risks, because at the end of the day, summon Ralph at your own peril. If you do this on your work machine and it's exfiltrating all your work data and you lose your job, sorry, I don't know what to say to you. That was a bad idea. That was just a bad idea. But prompt injection and exfiltration are absolutely a thing. Like, if you're giving it back access to Bash or it has access to Google things, then you take the risk of data exfiltration. So this is a great blog post by Meta, Practical AI Agent Security. I'll copy that to you. Can I DM you? Yeah, I'll DM it to you. This is definitely a link worth checking out. But basically, you can have, this is called the rule of 3 or the rule of 2. You can have an LLM process untrustworthy inputs, access to sensitive systems or private data, or change state or communicate externally. You can have an LLM have 2 of these 3 things. If it has 3 things, you're taking extreme risk. And guess what? Ralph wants all 3. Why do you think I've got my friend here? My friend Claude exists for a reason. Okay? It's because of the real risks here. And as much as I am on the cutting edge of AI, this is the first time in my career I've been cutting edge on anything. Okay. And I'm well ahead of my competitors, I feel like, in many ways. This is the first time, like, this is something that I actually will, there's a lot of things that I won't do with AI. Like, I don't have it connect to my email. I don't have it connect to my calendar, because data exfiltration risk is something that I think about and consider all the time. And I could add layers to complexity into the system, but then A, I'm making the system more complex, and then B, reducing the value that it gives to make that system more complex. And then C, there's still risks. So I just don't do any of that crazy stuff. I do not recommend doing this. For example, I do not recommend doing Ralph on a production repo, especially if the repo has had active secrets in it, because guess what? LLMs can search Git history really well. Really well. They're really good at it. In fact, I have it do it all the time. I'm like, hey, can you look in this Git history? I want to make sure that this feature that we've just added has parity with this other thing that we added. Definitely don't do it on a work laptop. Don't do it on a computer that you care anything about, period. But you could just do this, right? If you have a computer with a decent amount of RAM, fire up Codex, Claude code. Claude, I want a virtual Mac with 16 gigabytes of RAM and 100 gigabytes of storage space. Make it happen for me and let Claude and Codex cook. I actually kept running. I started with 50 gigabytes and I kept running into that upper limit. 50 gigabytes is not enough for modern software development, I'm sorry to say, but it worked pretty well. And then I just let it go. This and Claude dynamic workflows are probably two of the greatest like LLM harness features that were introduced recently. They're pretty amazing. It's a native way to do Ralph in your coding harness. Codex $200 a month plan. It will chew through tokens and it will chew through your problem. It's amazing. So basically what you do is you slash goal, and let me see if I can. Oh yeah, I can't do that. This unfortunately is production stuff. But if I go to Codex, and I go, do I trust the contents of this Uno demo directory? There's nothing in it. Yeah, I think I do. So I can go like this, /goal, set review the goal for a long running task. And you could say literally like I would give it my Ralph prompt and I would say, build this thing. But I don't even have to tell it to do state management under the hood with task files, because it actually, what it does under the hood is it creates a SQLite database to track the goal, the tasks in this particular goal. So it's amazing. And what it'll do is you will literally say, like, I want you to build out this full featured application, needs to do this, 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 and this. Strangely, the broader the goal, the bigger the goal, the better it works. It's crazy good at inferring a decent amount of requirements and stuff from this. So goal is how I build a ton of features. I have seen goal run for several days. In fact, it's going to run for several days while it's building out my language because it knows its goal. I actually told it, I want you to write your own compiler in your own language. And I want you to also make it a systems language. Matt, that was an idea from Mads. He said, hey man, the .NET could use a really good systems language. And I was like, oh, okay. .NET could use a systems language. That's pretty cool. So I decided to do it. So I have it so that like my language can build, is got first class tooling for building things and make sure that there's no allocations done. That hot path code follows certain rules. And then I said, turn around and test that. This is the form of back pressure I'm talking about. Test that by building your own compiler using this and make sure it's as fast as possible. Because I want my tooling to be as fast as possible. So /goal is a great innovation. It will just run. It's nuts. If you have a $20 a month plan, though, it ain't going to run for that long. If you have a $100 a month plan, it'll run for a while, but you'll run into usage limits. The $200 a month plan goal becomes just so great. And that's the differentiator, I think, for ChatGPT right now. And the GPT class of models is that Claude is just lazy and anxious, where Codex is just, they're just like a solid, I don't know how many people that are watch baseball, but they're just like a solid 3.5 ERA starting pitcher who just eat innings and just constantly get strikeouts. It's great. So that's really,
this is great. So again, I mean, we can geek over this for a long time. But,
I know it's just there's a lot that we could talk about. Well, actually, I feel like I've actually summed it up quite nicely. What questions do you got for me, Sam? Come on, I don't see any comments in chat. Somebody's got to have a question somewhere.
So let me start asking one, and then maybe if you have like 5 minutes left, like I can quickly show you what how we think about this, which is very much actually in line with what you are doing here. So you lined up your prompt and you had all of this. Like, what was the result of your Access UI moved to an app? How long did it take, and what did you do?
How long did it take? It's really the question is, how long did it take before I was comfortable with it? Comfortable with it as an application. So it took a few days before I was really comfortable with it, but I was also really busy at the time. So I clicked around. I said, I think that this is directionally correct, but I did have to hand it off to a team member in order to finish. And so that was, but it didn't take that long, because I taught them, like, basically, hey, I want you to use the LLMs to build out a coding feature, but I want you to do it unattended. So I actually loaned Claude got renamed to Claudette because it was I loaded out to one of my developers who was a woman, and she decided to rename it to Claudette. Okay, so Claudette for a while was the one running the with the additional features, and then she was just flipping back and forth between that and her day job. And then we delivered it, added some polish to it here and then. We did catch bugs, bugs that probably would have been caught by nowadays if I had back then, if I had Claude build it, Codex check the work, and had computer use. I think we would have found a lot more bugs than a lot faster. But it was still like very much a very like 70% complete project. The thing is, though, the models are just getting crazy good. And like that 70% is like now a 90%. It's going to be 95. In fact, we just got a new project that I'm going to build the prototype with AI enabled tooling. It's actually a web app with 2 different main personas and 3 different main personas. And so I'm going to have it build that and see how it goes. And then when I do the show again sometime, I'll tell you how it went. But it's going to be coding agents overnight. So
yeah. So one last question, maybe, and then I'll maybe switch over. But you have your choice of tech stacks that you prefer. Like that sounds like React, right? So in your specs, like, do you specify that I would want you to build with React, or are you open to other web things that LLMs build with?
I think I'm going to stick with React for the time, at least for the future. I will certainly see what you've got to show me on the Uno side, and maybe I'll build something with it just for fun. But like React, the thing about React is that there's one thing that in my consulting practice, it's a pragmatic AI show, and I'm being pragmatic. Okay. I can hire React developers all day.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can hire, and it's a lot more difficult to hire .NET front end people who like use .NET front end frameworks. No offense, Uno. I'm so sorry. I feel like I'm being mean, but I'm not trying to be mean.
maybe we can change your mind.
Let's do it.
Try things out, as always say. So we have like 3 minutes left. So hold on. Let me see if I can share screen and show you what we have been up to.
Just for you, Sam, if I have something on the front end that I could build with on my language, I will use Uno for it.
Okay, so here's the reality. So a lot of shops like you and others that we talk to are .NET shops, and .NET often is relegated to the backend because you want to do modern web stuff, and that's fine. So you're serving up APIs through .NET, but a lot of devs would like to be able to do .NET back to front if possible, right? So .NET is here to stay, but the tech stacks that .NET uses to take you to the front end, that's evolved quite a bit. We had Windows or desktop apps, then we started doing mobile apps and web apps with ASP.NET, but can we bring it all together? So this is Uno platform, right? So if I go look at the platform, this is the open source stack that we built on. So if you look at other web-based vibe coding tools, you often get apps that are essentially a little bit vaporware because it's not maintainable. It's meant to be a quick prototype. It's not meant to be something that you actually deliver. But what if you were delivering stuff on a foundational model that's here to stay? It's well thought out, has all types of productivity tools. So this is Uno platform, right, for us. And then Uno Platform Studio is essentially a set of AI and design tools built on top of this, so you have more productivity as a dev. You have a tighter inner loop. So in here we think about things like what if you wanted a design surface to iteratively build your app, and whatever you do with hot reload, we sync it back to your code. What if you were starting from Figma or Pencil, you wanted to bring design to code pipelines in? So we think about that. And if you're doing any type of AI, so you are spot on to say you need a validation loop, that back pressure thing. So first up, we have MCPs that will keep any agents guided or grounded in docs, so they're not guessing. But then, do you know about Playwright for web apps? Yeah, so that's UI test automation. So we do that exact thing for .NET. So your Ralph loops and your Codex agents will validate what they're doing. So those are MCP tools that are great. So that was the reality up until like 2 weeks back. But then we are at Microsoft Build actually 2 weeks back. So we're actually coming back on the show. Like we do this every other Thursday. I missed because we're at Microsoft Build, showing off what's next for us. So if you go onto the platform.uno, that's our home on the internet. internet now. Now you see a prompt. Now you see a text box on the internet. So what is that about? So essentially, when you log in, this is the next iteration of Uno Platform Studio. You get an environment like this, which is web-based, right? It's phenomenal that we can pull off stuff like this that's pure .NET just on the web. So it's asking for a prompt to say, what can I build you, right? So we are taking away cross-platform .NET. It's not simple because you're depending on SDKs. You're building for iOS, Android, WebAssembly, and Windows, Mac OS. And so you need those things to be in place locally before you can start building in any IDE or CLI. But what if we take away all of those dependencies and have you start just on the web? So you can start with the prompt, or we have a couple of gallery apps here. So let's just choose one here. This is like an enterprise sales dashboard. So what it's doing here is it's pulling up a project that's pre-built with a prompt, and it's trying to say, here's how I can envision and build your app. So we'll give it a second. If you start with the prompt, it's choose through, and it creates a plan, tries to see all of the screens that you want built, what's the navigation, what's data context, all of that. It's going to pull up all of that. But here, this is the prompt essentially that we gave it. Like we want some mock data, some dashboard KPIs, and navigation. So this is kind of what it did. So in here is, a decent looking mobile app, but I can check what the app looks like in, tablet form factors, desktop form factors, and so on. I can see light mode, dark mode. So some of those visual things are right there for me. The agent is there. This is actually a specialized harness, right? And it's using some agents and models. It's got a whole bunch of MCP tools and skills behind it, so it again falls into a bit of success. But if you wanted to iterate more, you could, with the agent right in here, you could say, change up this thing. Or if you, maybe you see something small that you want to change, you can go into, manually designing it. So this is the design mode. I can go into selection, and now I can actually, tap in. I can see exactly where my UI is in the visual tree. Here's a toolbox of all the UI that I can just drag and drop into my app. And once I have something selected, I get a properties windows to essentially, fine tune what I'm trying to do. So the idea here is we take away all barriers to entry. So you can just literally start on the web behind the scenes compared to other tools like, I'm not putting shade on the other web-based tools, but which ones I'm talking about.
Yes.
This is generating a full-on .NET project, and it just happens to render with WASM on the web, but it also will work just fine on desktop and mobile. So you hit export.
That's really
cool. And eventually we will open this up so you can go straight to other coding repositories. But right now you just hit export, we zip everything up, and then you drop down into your whichever IDE or CLI tool of your choice. So again, if I go into the docs here, so this is kind of where you start. So you look at how you start. So we don't care. It's agnostic, right? It's modern .NET. So Visual Studio Code, VS Code, Writer, or Claude, Codex, bring your friend. You can start anywhere. So we give you a project that's generated and iterated right in your browser, and then you drop down into your CLI and you continue to work. So that's how easy we are trying to make it. Yes, I mean, it's not React front end, but it's .NET front end with a rendered WASM.
Well, and I think .NET devs would love a tool like this. There's a lot in the market for, like you said, the JavaScript tools, which we won't name them. I'll do you a favor, not name them.
Yeah.
But I think this is a great tool, and yeah.
Once you drop down into your local environment, like I'm going to pull up any project here. So the same exact AI tools that you had in the web, they're there for you here as well. So where is my AI prompt? Here. That. So I can use any agent if I want, but here are my MCPs that keep me grounded with docs, and here is essentially Playwright++. So this guy can take screenshots. It can type in text, do key press, all the things. So to your point about running Ralph loops, this is great because it can actually keep going. I can say, here's what my screen needs to look like. Make sure all functionality is good before you say it's done, essentially.
I love that.
Yeah.
Listen, Sam, I got to tell you something. I'm actually 5 minutes late to a meeting for my company, and I put him off as long as I can. So I really appreciate you showing me this, but I do have to run.
Yep. So let's let's wrap up here. Coming back to my screen here. Okay. So, folks, this was great, right? You heard Spencer talking through exactly how he and the team ship software. And don't trust our words. Go play with it yourself.
Yeah,
and
100%. Best way
find your comfort zone.
to find Ralph is to use Ralph.
Exactly. All right, Spencer. Thank you so much for spending an hour with me. This was
Absolutely.
great. And chat room, thanks so much for hanging out with us. And we'll see you on the next one.
All right. Take care.
All right. Thanks. Bye.